Hey there, this is Pastor Dan with our Friday devotional out of Psalm 5. Psalm 5. The psalmist begins, "Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my sighing." There's that word sighing. It's a sign of exasperation, fatigue. Consider my sighing. Listen to my cry for help, my King and my God, for to you I pray. In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my request before you, and I wait in expectation. As with every psalm of lament, we have, all except 88, we have these four parts. We have the getting God's attention, where he speaks directly to God, and then he has his complaint, and then he has his request, and then he has his affirmation. And so as you're thinking about prayer and lament, you and I can walk through those same strategies, those same components. But he begins with who's he talking to? He's talking to the God who hears. And it sounds like he speaks to the God who hears in the morning. I find that in the morning, when my brains are clear and my schedule has not yet gotten full, that I am able to listen more carefully. And I'm able to think more clearly before all the day pushes in on me. But as soon as the day pushes in, it gets hard again because I get distracted. Whether it's distracted with things in Ukraine, distracted with things in my family, even distractions from friends, emails and texts. The psalmist begins by crying out to the Lord. And that's a good place for us to start too, no matter what's going on. And then we get down, we're going to skip a few verses, where he gets down to his complaint. His complaint really picks up in verse 9. Not a word from their mouth can be trusted. Their heart is filled with destruction. Their mouth is an open grave. Their tongue speaks deceit. Sometimes we're around people and they are just people who are unkind to us. They're just not nice. Maybe they're jealous, maybe they're angry, maybe they're bitter, maybe it has nothing to do with you, but you just get the harshness. The psalmist here is praying about a circumstance where somebody is coming against him. And he says their throat is an open grave, with their tongue they speak deceit. Declare them guilty, O God. That gets into the request. The request is that God would declare them guilty. Let their intrigues be their downfall. Banish them for their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. We can ask God to do things on behalf of us when we're feeling like everyone's against us. Now, we have to remember that God isn't like our grandfather, and he does have ways about doing things. But we can request when things are not right. We can request that God would make them right. And his request is that God would declare them guilty, let their intrigues be their downfall, banish them for their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. And then he wraps up at the end his affirmation. But let all who take refuge in you be glad. Let them ever sing for joy. Spread your protection over them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you. For surely, O Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield. That phrase, but let all who take refuge in you be glad. Let all who take refuge in you, in God, be glad. What makes them glad? Because God sees and hears and knows, because God is aware, God is interested, and their lament gets God's attention, even if they don't have an immediate answer. They take refuge and they trust in God and God's sovereignty and his control, even if they can't see the outcomes. And sometimes the outcomes are murky and distant. Whatever you're going through today, I want to encourage you that Jesus came because God wants to enter into our laments. And the psalmist's examples, over 60 psalms, give us this example of how we can speak to the Lord, and we can offer our complaint, and we can offer our request, and we can end with an affirmation that even if I don't feel right, I'm going to choose to trust God because he's good, he's loving, he's with us. He gave himself on our behalf, and he's alive interceding for us even now. I trust this encourages you today. This is Pastor Dan of First Alliance Church with our Friday devotional. God bless. Oh, I have this dozen of eggs. Well, it's not quite a dozen of eggs. See, sometimes we have to wait for things to develop. And when I go out in the mornings, I only get one egg. But eventually, when I wait, I get the rest. You know, sometimes we have to hold on to what we got and be grateful and wait for God to bring the rest. That's all part of lament too, to wait for God to bring the rest. Okay, that's all. Bye for now. Pastor Dan, so long.